So what good is a parts washer when the solvent looks like that? 10 gallons of new solvent. It's called Aussie Juice. It's supposed to be safe for everything parts cleaner. I just used my drill and this little transfer pump on a piece of garden hose and pumped out everything that I could by using that tipped up gloves. I am going to finish wiping all that crud out. Well, that looks a whole lot better. It's nice and clean. I haven't found a new brush, so it's time to get cleaning. So I've taken these fuel injector lines and just blown them off the best I can to get all the loose particles out now that they've dried for a while. And there was a bunch of crud in there. Couldn't believe it. As you might remember, I sprayed all of the injector threads with penetrating oil. I'll probably do that a couple more times to keep that saturated before I try to clean the rest of those threads out. For now, I've got this old tin can, and I'm going to just soak them for a while. And the cool thing about that can is I can drop it right down in there. And even though this is considered non-flammable fluid, I can still close the lid. So it has been a while since I've gotten back out in the shop. And I've got a valve cover gasket set. And I got another package from KB Diesel Performance. I grabbed this boost increasing valve, and it's supposed to kind of just slow down the reaction of the wastegate to help that turbo build a little bit more boost under load. So as a recap, I used Exotic Performance head studs, and I have the driver's side done by doing the bolt pattern and just one at a time and going in that loop, that circle that that's designated for that. Those fuel injector lines are still soaking in that can. It's about time to take that out and rinse them good. Then I can put these fuel injector return lines, or the line, back on and start putting that valve cover set back together. So I've got quite a bit of stuff tied up on top of this engine, but that boost increase valve goes right into that line right there that goes to the wastegate for the turbocharger, and it is literally just a little orifice, and I don't know what the detail of that shape is, but that's just a hollow tube, and you can see how small that hole really is. There's a little arrow etched in, and that goes towards the wastegate, and all that's doing is letting the system think that there's less boost than there actually is, and it just keeps that wastegate closed a little bit longer. For the time being, I'm going to just stick that in my little box of stuff in my toolbox and get to it later. So I have this lower valve cover, and that is the next thing to go on, but I need to scrape all that silicone off, and then I will degrease the entire thing to make sure there's no dirt or contaminant anywhere in the system. So when I got this opened up, I was surprised how clean it really was. I've noticed there's a few spots, like right there you can see, and you can just see the swirls in some spots, but the machine surface in other spots. So somebody's been in here before, but I don't know why. Remember, I have zero history knowledge on this truck other than the fact that a junkyard transmission was put into it and it was never filled up with fluid. So as far as the engine goes, I know it runs well, and it kind of makes me hope maybe they were in there for injectors. There's really not a whole lot under the valve covers, but it couldn't have been any time super recent just because of all that rust that was in these little cups. But it's good to know that maintenance has been done, at least, and it's still good to see how clean it is. So I'm going to get this thing in the parts tank, wash all the rest of the filth off it, and dry it off, get it ready for installation. So that looks a whole lot cleaner, if you ask me. Next, the gasket set comes with 4 tubes of black RTV, so I'm going to use plenty to seal in here, but not enough to make it splurge into the inside of the engine. And then there's a rubber gasket that goes in here as well. And there we go. I used actually the majority of ½ ounce of that RTV black, and must be that's why they have 4, because there's 4 mating surfaces. And I doubt I'm going to use an entire one of these tubes on this top because there's less of a gap, and I don't want to, like I said, I don't want to get more RTV in the engine than I need. So that's just enough. I filled the gap all the way around, pressed that gasket in place, and it's good to go. This kit even comes with new standoffs, and those go right in the valve cover here, so that way you can't crank it down too tight. It actually gives there's some room for the gasket to be a gasket instead of being smushed flat. Now I doubt that it matters because I took them out before I removed this lower valve cover, but I probably would have had more room to put the rocker set all back together without that upper valve cover in place, but that's okay. So next I'll do that. I'm going to clean each push rod one by one, dry it off, lube the tip with some oil, and drop them down into that hole. So when I started this video series, it was really hot in here. And now it's starting to turn a little bit chilly at night and not so hot during the day. And up behind that sign, there's a little bit of insulation where the headers are. And I was just hearing a big old critter up there. So it's time to start doing some major eviction. For now though, I gave just a few big bang, bang, bang on the wall, and it's pretty quiet now. You can definitely see how much cleaner those push rods are after just cleaning them up. So I have here a new jug of 1030 oil that I just had over on the shelf. This is going to get probably 2 oil changes with the Rotella when it's all up and running. So this is going to work for now to prevent any type of a dry startup. And what I'm going to do is dip, dip, and insert it. And just repeat that for the rest. Remember back in the beginning of the video series when I said, I'll tell you if I mess up something? Well, that worked really good. So I'm going to tell you that too. The only thing I have to do is just wipe up just a little bit of oil drip. So that way when I go to put that upper valve cover back on, I'm going to have a good clean surface still. Also, I figured I'd point out, when I drop those down in there, I'm guessing that the lifters have some type of a cup because when I put the push rod down into the hole, I can feel there's like a little suction holding it in place. So I just wanted to make sure they were all in line and where they needed to be. And you can also see that like this one's down, this one's up. So they're sitting on the cam as well. They're not all in one level plane. Next I'm going to clean up that rocker assembly in the parts washer, and then I'll blow it off real good, and then probably just wipe some oil on that as well. When I took it apart, I did notice that there were some spots, like right there, you can see where there's just some like surface rust. I don't know what the deal is. Oh, that's a mess. But I'm just going to make sure that that gets all cleaned up as well. And I've got a wire brush on a drill if I need to. I'll bust it all loose and keep cleaning it. And that's that. I tighten those down all evenly, just like a half a turn at a time, going center, and then these middle outer ones, and then the outer ones, and then just kind of working around. And I ended up torquing those to 40 foot-pounds.